What is going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragonflight video. I hope you're all doing so well. We had so many announcements basically yesterday from Blizzard on the new patch coming for Dragonflight, patch 10.1. It is called Embers of Neltharion. There are so many things to get to. Let's just dive right in. There were multiple interviews that were done, and I've kind of compiled a bunch of these of the features together, and I have them for you in this video. So it's going to be Season 2, Embers of Neltharion. There's a new zone. There's a new raid. There's Firaak Assaults, Niffen, Renown, and Rewards. New PvP season. New Mythic Plus Dungeon Pool with a bunch of stuff on affixes as well. I'll talk about that in a second. New Dragonriding Drake. New user interface improvements. So many things happening in 10.1. If we thought Blizzard was slowing down on the content creation, they are not. They are full steam ahead. So let's dive right in with the first thing, which is the new zone, the Zeralek Cavern. All right, guys, here's the new zone. This looks absolutely gorgeous. There are just so many different kinds of biomes down here, and this is, as we understand, the underground zone. It's right underneath the Dragon Isles themselves, and you can actually fly right in here on your dragon riding mount. And the caverns will be big enough that you can actually fly around on your dragon riding mount inside this zone, even though it's underground. So I know the term underground probably shocked, it kind of scares a lot of people, but it's okay. It's going to be really huge, and we're going to be doing all kinds of stuff down there. There's going to be lots of loot to get, of course, lots of rares, lots of events. Apparently there's going to be snail racing, which is super fun, super cool. You can see the snails all decked out here. It looks like it's going to be a really awesome underground zone, unlike anything we've sort of seen before, particularly because we have dragon riding when we get in there, and that is amazing. And of course, there's also a new faction coming called the Niffen. These little guys with these the big noses, the little mole people, if you will. And not only are they a new faction, they represent a new renown track that we get to farm. So all the other renown tracks that we have right now are not getting any updates, but we're getting a brand new renown faction to farm with, and that's going to be really fun, really cool for you guys who like to do that. And of course, there's a new little event with these guys as well called the Sniff and Seek. A feature of the Niffen Renown faction will be a new feature called Sniff and Seek, where we will befriend a Niffen, and they will lead us to different places in the Zeralek Cavern based on what we give them to smell. So that's kind of an interesting idea to look forward to as well. Seems like a really cool event that we might be able to dive into, but of course it's going to be optional. But yeah, guys, this is shaping up to be a really cool looking zone. You got sort of those crystal caverns you can see in the top corner here. Looks like there's going to be some sort of jungle inspired mountain themes there, with obviously lots of fire as well, and I think some ice. So they're going to incorporate all kinds of different biomes here, and this is where the bulk of our new end game grinding is going to take place, right here. And there's going to be multiple new features coming along with this zone, and I'm going to introduce the invasions and assaults right now. So we do know that there's going to be assaults coming from an NPC named Firaak. So I don't think we met him yet, but he apparently ventures into this new zone right here, and he kind of gets juiced up with power. He kind of gets he finds a whole bunch of power, and he takes that and he actually goes back to the surface and begins assaulting the Dragon Isles above. So Firaak's going to get that power that he got from the Zeralek Cavern and take it back up top, which will bring us back up top as well to participate in these assaults on the regular Dragon Isles location. And we know that this is going to be very similar to the Legion assaults from old and the BFA ones as well that we're used to doing. So just standard content across the board for Blizzard assaults, but that's going to be coming, new assaults from Firaak. And along with these invasions, of course, there's going to be a new dragon riding mount. So we've got new traits, glyphs, and races will become available to you as you ride your Drake through the Zeralek Cavern, and a new mount. The Winding Slither Drake can be earned along with its customization to continue on your journey. So this is very exciting. There's a new model, a new Drake to actually pick up, as well as obviously customizations for all of your other Drakes that you have, and new glyphs to find down there, as well as a new ability that we have learned about called ground skimming. So this is their post about the ground skimming right here. It's coming in 10.1. So the basic idea is that it says it allows you to recharge your vigor while flying near the ground, which is a departure from the current dragon flying, where the only way to rapidly recharge your vigor is to fly at really high speeds. In order to obtain ground skimming, you'll need to collect a new dragon riding glyphs found throughout Zeralek Cavern. Dragonriding is the ability and the ability to ground skim will likely be available day 1. Morgan Day in the interview that he was doing did say day 1 will be that'll be true. It'll be there ready to go for you. So that's a really cool, exciting new thing. I actually kind of do this already, as I'm sure most of you do, where you just like love to fly really, really close to the ground without touching it. It's kind of a fun little mini game you can play. So I wonder if some of the dragon riding races in the Zeralek Cavern will actually be kind of devoted to ground skimming, like a race where all of the little circles you have to fly through are incredibly close to the ground. It'll be neat to see how they kind of flesh this one out. But ground skimming is coming in 10.1. Next on the list, of course, is going to be the new raid coming, Aberrus, the Shadowed Crucible. So this is really cool. It says, breach Neltharian's secret lab hidden within Zeralek Cavern. It is here that he created the Drakthir and ultimately succumbed to the whispers of the old gods and their corruption. Players will face 9 new raid bosses in an effort to thwart the Incarnates, as well as Scale Commander Saraketh, whose forces seek to claim the legacy of the Drakthir. So that's, I think, going to be the main villain for this next sort of patch, and the raid boss probably at the end of it. One thing they do say here too as well is that normal, heroic, and mythic difficulties will release simultaneously, and new class sets will be available to earn with this truly epic new raid dungeon. So it's looking really cool. It's got kind of that experiment vibe going on, where you could tell this is where he was, Neltharion was performing those experiments on the Drakthir, trying to create that new people. But there's a bunch of failed experiments in here as well. And Morgan Day hinted in one of his interviews that there is, in fact, one of the raid bosses in here that sort of highlights those failed experiments, and you're going to have to fight them. So that's a really interesting idea and probably going to be a lot of fun as well. There's, of course, 9 bosses. As I said, that's 1 more than the Vault of the Incarnates right now, and it's going to have that simultaneous release. Probably going to have some Old God-influenced raid bosses as well, I would think, because this is where Neltharion went mad. So maybe there's going to be a theme on madness as well, that corruption kind of coming through, and, of course, the experimentation. So very excited to see what this raid ends up looking like in 10.1. And as it mentioned above, of course, we are getting new tier sets. Now, we don't know what any of the effects of the tier sets are right now. I'm going to try and get on the PTR as soon as possible and check it out. But these actually look pretty good. Some of these, I think, the pictures right now, some are showing, like, heroic. Some are showing the mythic version, I think. And some are just showing, like, normal. So this is a hunter over here, I think. My favorite one, actually, is the shaman one over here. This looks really, really cool. I can't tell what version this is, but it looks pretty epic, the shaman one, I must say. So that's pretty cool. The druid and the warrior one also look really good. That's the druid one there. So I'm really excited to get these tier sets. These things look absolutely baller. You can see these ones don't look quite as good, I don't think, because they're probably not the correct, like, version. I think purple's probably, like, normal. And then I think as you get over to the gold, you're getting more into, like, the black dragonflight feel. And I think these ones are going to be the mythic ones. We'll just have to see. It does say heroic, but the shaman one, I don't know. The warrior one just says heroic. We'll have to see, but the tier sets look gorgeous. I can't wait to find out what the actual effects are going to be on them as well, because I think they're going to be much more significant than they were in Season 1, so we'll just have to wait and see. Moving right along here, there is a Dragonflight Season 2 for Mythic Plus happening as well. Here's the list. It's Brackenhide Hollow, Halls of Infusion, Oldemont, and Neltharis. Those are the Dragonflight dungeons, and then we're going to get Freehold coming back, the Underrock coming back, Vortex Pinnacle from Cataclysm, and Neltharian's Lair from Legion. Now, I watched all the interviews, and some people were, like, a little upset by some of the choices they made here. Excuse me. And I think listening to Morgan Day and Steve Denuser talk about this, they really talked about what, Neltharian's Lairs, of course, we're talking about Neltharion. And so it was obvious to bring this one back for, like, a lore reasons and the story. And I totally understand that, which is kind of cool. Vortex Pinnacle also has a lot of Draconoid dudes in it and dragons, so it fits the theme as well. And then Freehold and Underrot are sort of maybe the outliers, but Underrot was, old god, reminiscent of the old god Titan place, and it had been corrupted with, old god stuff. So, again, I think, like, they're trying to go thematically with, to try to keep it similar in the vein of Neltharion, Madness, Old Gods, all that stuff. Freehold might be the only outlier there, but they just knew Freehold was a fan favorite, so that's why they brought it back. Very interesting stuff here. It'll be interesting to see how they update the loot. I talked about this in my previous video, but the Vortex Pinnacle loot is, of course, like, really old, really outdated. They're going to have to bump that up. And the Legion dungeon, Neltharian's Lair, doesn't have any weapons in it, so they're going to have to upgrade that one and put some weapons in there as well. But That's the Season 2 Mythic Plus rotation. Let's talk about the affixes here. As for the affixes, Morgan Day said that they are getting rid of the seasonal affix for Season 2. They're going to try and experiment in this season, and they're just going to get rid of a seasonal affix altogether. So there's no level 10 affix, which is kind of wild that they're breaking that mold, but I think it's going to be an interesting experiment. I like seasonal affixes, but maybe this will be helpful. They're also making massive changes to the level 7 bucket, which is Quaking, Grievous, Volcanic, Storming, and Explosive. One thing I really enjoyed about what Morgan Day said here was that they want to take a closer look at the level 7 bucket and see how much of an opportunity there is for counterplay. I talked about this in a previous video, but there's basically no opportunity for counterplay in most of the Mythic Plus affixes that you're going to see, and that makes it a really annoying experience, right? They're just there to annoy you. They're not there as a means of actually gaining any benefit, which I think would be really cool if they added in sort of a kiss-curse system to some of these affixes to say, listen, if you play this correctly, then you actually get rewarded. So we'll have to see how they do with the Mythic Plus changes there, but really big getting rid of the seasonal affix. That's kind of a massive deal. There's also a brand new gear upgrade system coming in patch 10.1 that essentially is going to replace Valor and a lot of the other different currencies you used to have to gather to upgrade your gear. They're kind of consolidating it all into one big system. I'm going to do another video on this because it's a whole big article, and it's not something that I can really spend time on right now. It's going to be huge. So I'm going to go over all of this in a different video. Don't worry about that. But just know that there is a huge gear upgrade system coming in 10.1 that will replace Valor and a lot of other things. So stay tuned for that. All right, moving on to cross-faction guilds. They are, in fact, coming, finally. Grouping enables players to be the faction that they want and still play with their friends. Many had to create alternate faction guilds, fracturing their guild communities. So Blizzard recognized that just being able to group up cross-faction wasn't enough, that players were really hoping to be able to play in a guild together with whatever faction they want. And I think it's about time. We all know it's about time. Morgan Day did say in an interview that this will be available on the PTR for testing as soon as possible. So they really do want to get cross-faction guilds out to the community as soon as they can, which is very exciting. Very excited for this. It's an awesome feature that's finally coming to the game. Finally, guys, there was some news in the interview with Morgan Day talking about new UI changes coming to the game as well. They're looking at modifying how raid frames work, being able to show more buffs on a raid frame, I think, depending on the size of it, as well as changing the quest tracker and updating that, and a bunch of other UI changes. So they're continuing their commitment to making the UI better for all of us, which I think is extremely exciting. As somebody who uses the base UI game, the base UI in the game, I'm very excited at that feature. So that's it, guys, for the video. Those are all the things that we know so far in 10.1, the update that's coming, the Embers of Neltharion. It's going to be amazing. And again, guys, look at this roadmap. We still have so many things coming. 10.1.5 is the Mega Dungeon, more stories in 10.07, and then a whole other raid and season in Season 3. So it is so exciting to be playing Dragonflight right now. If you are in the game, if you know your friends might want to come play, just invite people to play, man. This is the best time to be playing World of Warcraft. I don't think there's been a better content update schedule than there is right now. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about all the changes coming in 10.1. What are you most excited about? I would love to hear from you in those comments. Thank you so much again for watching, guys. I love you all. I'll see you in the next one.